So I've been playing with my new Atari 2600 Plus quite a bit. And lately I've dug into my Atari 7800 games. In this video, what I'd like to do is pull out my 10 favorite and do a mini review on those. And I'll go ahead and test them all out and let you know how things work out for me. So as you can see, I've got my 2600 Plus as well as two of the 2-button joystick controllers for it. But I have to say that this system isn't shaped properly or even named properly. And that's because it's actually an Atari 7800. And the reason is because this system plays 7800 games in addition to the 2600 games. Now, I understand why they wouldn't have called this an Atari 7800. The 2600 name, everybody's familiar with that. When they think of Atari, they think of the 2600. They don't think of a 7800. I wanted to do a comparison between the 7800 and the 2600 Plus, but unfortunately my 7800 is not working now. It worked when I put it away years ago, but it no longer works. So it probably needs capacitors. I had this nice and clean, but I ended up spraying in some contact cleaner inside there, and that didn't resolve the problem. I tried different power supplies. That didn't resolve the problem. I did get it to work for a little while, but then it stopped working. So unfortunately, this system is not working. But then I pulled out my other Atari 7800. So this is the original protector. So it's nice and clean underneath there. But this system stopped working. So I pulled out my third 7800, and guess what, folks? This one doesn't work either. So I have three 7800s, and none of them are working. So over the years, I've built up a nice little collection of Atari 7800 games. I've got 24 games here. I've also got 3 controllers. Out of the 3 controllers, only one of them is working properly now. So I am just not very impressed with my 7800 at the moment. It's like, I mean, come on, guys. And another thing you'll notice, like, this cable looks really nice and clean, but this cable, these 2 cables are just kind of a funky, oxidation going on in the plastic. So just not very impressive at all. I also have 2 of these little pads. This is a European style pad. This came with my Australian system. But it's a rather uncomfortable pad. It's not like the original Nintendo where everything just seemed like it was placed right. This one, the buttons are too low. So it works good, but it's just kind of a icky pad. So out of the 3, I believe this is the one that's working for me right now. I think I can get the other ones working, but I'll have to take them apart and mess around with them, which is quite a bit of work. Out of all these games, I believe Dark Chambers is probably the only one that really needs a 2-button controller. So I don't really need the 7800 controller. It's a nice looking controller, but it's really not the best. This one feels good. It's got a nice pop to it, and the buttons feel pretty good. But the buttons are not very responsive on the 7800. It's hard to fire quickly with it. So it's just a controller. But let's go ahead and run through the games and see how it works on my system. Desert Falcon by General Computer Corporation is the only game on my list of must-haves that didn't originate from the arcade. You take the role of the Falcon to fight off your enemies, collect treasures and hieroglyphs to unlock special powers in this isometric 1980s adventure. But vultures, warriors, flying fish, and other creatures are determined to stop you in this fast-paced action game. The pack-in game for the US release of the Atari 7800. Pole Position 2 features all 4 arcade tracks, complete with their own scenery, and unlike the Atari 5200 Pole Position, the billboards are now illustrated with Atari's Fuji logo. The cars are beautifully detailed and will explode into a mess of parts if a collision is detected. In this fixed shooter arcade game by Namco, You're tasked with destroying the invading Galaga forces while avoiding projectiles and swarming enemy ships. Galaga for the Atari 7800 lacks the graphical details, but it does feature the attack formations, the tractor beam, player rankings, as well as the challenging stages. It looks different and plays different than the arcade, but it will keep you coming back for more. In Asteroids, the player takes control of a spaceship to clear the screen of menacing space rocks. Care must be taken as large asteroids fragment into many more smaller pieces, which get hurled into several directions. Flying saucers will enter the asteroid field, causing even more chaos and devastation as they shoot at asteroids, and even you if they get a shot off. The 7800 version of Asteroids has all the game excitement you'll find in the original arcade coin-op by Atari, but gone are the monochrome vector graphics, and in its place you'll find full-color graphics and spectacular background sound effects. In Centipede, the player takes control of the Bug Blaster to destroy a centipede that is quickly marching down a field of mushrooms. To do this, each body segment must be shot. You also must avoid the menacing spider as well as falling fleas. Another classic from the golden age of arcade games, Centipede for the 7800 is a must-own. In this fantastically frantic Williams arcade hit by Eugene Jarvis and Larry DeMar, the player takes control of the Robotron hero to save humans from waves of robotic enemies in their cybernetic revolt. The 7800 version takes full advantage of the Maria chip, enabling 70 animated objects on screen. Throw 2 joysticks at this one and you'll capture all the original game mechanics, running from danger while shooting down enemies. In this vertically scrolling shooter, the player takes control of the Salovo starship, armed with a zapper and a blaster to defend mankind against waves of Xavius forces. Xavius features large connected scrolling playfields populated with forests, roads, rivers, and mechanical structures. The screen resolution has been reduced so the 7800 lacks the same sharpness found in the arcade, but the graphics are colorful and the gameplay is solid. Marketed by Namco as a strategic digging game, the player takes control of a miner named Dig Dug to clear stages of goggle-laden enemy Pokas and fire-breathing Fygar dragons. Enemies can be dispatched by inflating them with your air pump or by crushing them with large falling rocks. Bonus items can be collected for additional points as well. Many ports of this arcade classic were released by Atari and a subsidiary, Atari Soft, with the 7800 version being one of the best. Miss Pac-Man takes the original Namco arcade hit to a new level. As in the original, the player clears the board of pellets while avoiding ghosts. If the ghosts get too close, you can sneak through a warp tunnel to emerge on the other side. Bouncing fruits can be collected for bonus points, and ghosts can be eaten after consuming a power pellet. But be quick, as the timer is short. Written by General Computer Corporation, the 7800 port is absolutely fantastic, as it contains all the bonus items, mazes, and intermissions. In this 2-player cooperative video game, the player takes the role of a knight armed with a lance and his trusty steed, either an ostrich for player 1 or a stork for player 2. Knock enemy knights off their buzzards by placing your lance just above theirs. The 7800 conversion features beautifully detailed platforms, up to 10 color sprites, the pterodactyl, flames that burn away the bridge. Oh, and if you get too close to the lava, the troll will pull you to your fiery death. Simply the best conversion of Joust I've ever played, and the game that sold me on the Atari 7800 Pro system. So how did the 2600 Plus work out with my Atari 7800 games? Well, to start, I had 2 games that wouldn't load at all. Chopper Lifter would boot, and then it would just go into a black screen and make a click noise. Ball Blazer would go into the title screen, but that's as far as it would go. Now, I know Ball Blazer has the Pokey chip installed in it, so that's probably not going to work, at least not until maybe they do an update that addresses that. These games here, all these games worked, except they require a 2-button joystick. So if you have the CX40 Plus joystick, it's not going to work for you on these games. So I've got Real Sports Baseball, Pole Position 2, One-on-One, Basketball, Dark Chambers, Desert Falcon, and Asteroids. These games are all going to require a 2-button joystick, but they all work no problem. And all of these games I didn't have any issues with at all. I've even got a couple of absolute titles. There's Tomcat. Actually, this game will probably require a 2-button joystick. I couldn't figure it out. This is going to be another 2-button joystick game, so let me put that over there. But Kung Fu Master worked fine. And then all of these games as well worked okay. So we got Mario Brothers, Food Fight, Xenophobe, Galaga, Donkey Kong, Centipede, Miss Pac-Man, Xavius, Donkey Kong Jr., Dig Dug, Joust, Crossbow, and Robotron. So overall, I would say that was a win. So good job, Atari.